Okay, so on this podcast, we're going to talk about the best and the worst performances that happened in the state of Texas over the last weekend. There were certainly a couple of candidates for each category. We'll start off first with the best category. The candidates that really could have really earned this. You have the Baylor Bears, who defeated the Rice Owls 56-31. Robert Griffin III threw for over 300 yards. It was a good effort, very solid performance. Baylor now undefeated and in the top 15 in the AP rankings as well as ESPN's rankings. Also, you have Texas State, the Bobcats. Texas State went on the road to Nacogdoches and defeated Stephen F. Austin 35-26, again on the road. A very solid performance from Dennis Franchione's squad, who is trying to rebound from an 0-2 start, and they're doing so pretty well. Good candidates, but I think the best candidate has to go to Sam Houston State, the Bearcats, or the Cats for short. The Cats went on the road to University Stadium in New Mexico and Albuquerque, and they defeated the New Mexico Lobos 48-45 in overtime. A back-and-forth affair. Both teams really showcased their skills on offense. The Lobos threw for over 400 yards, but the Bearcats, the Cats, rushed for 373 yards in the ballgame. For Sam Houston State, their rushing performance of 373 yards marks as their sixth best rushing performance in school history. They were aided by Tim Flanders, their halfback, who himself rushed for 194 of those 373 yards. On 30 carries, he scored 5 touchdowns in the ballgame, of which broke a Sam Houston State record. He broke that record, which was held at the time by James Aston, who accomplished 4 touchdown feat in 2008, as well as Charles Harris, who also scored 4 touchdowns in 1992. It was a very impressive performance from Sam Houston State. They really showcased what they needed to, and they got a big win against an FBS opponent. In fact, so big, this was their first win against a Football Bowl subdivision opponent in 10 years. The last time the Bearcats got a win over an FBS opponent was in 2001 when they defeated Louisiana Monroe. So it was a huge win for this program. It's only their third win against an FBS opponent in the last 20-plus years, since the mid-'80s when Sam Houston State moved up into the football championship subdivision. And from that point, really, I think a lot of people realize Sam Houston State's been kind of a punching bag for a lot of teams. It's been kind of not fair, but they did a fantastic job against New Mexico, and now for the Bearcats, they're going to be playing at home next week against the UTSA Roadrunners, and then the week after, I think a lot of folks in Huntsville will be waiting to be going to Reliance Stadium as they play on October the 9th against the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks in Reliance Stadium, the battle for the Piney Woods. Okay, so that was the best performance. The worst performance, I'm not sure if there's any other candidate that deserves it more so than the Aggies of Texas A&M. Texas A&M really laid a humongous egg. They were leading 20-3 at halftime. They had everything going for him. Ryan Tannehill and company played a very solid first half. But as they say, football's a 60-minute game. And Texas A&M decided that the last 30 minutes were not really that important. Oklahoma State did not concur. And they ended up playing a very impressive second half, scoring 27 straight points before Texas A&M could get any other points on the board. A field goal late in the fourth quarter, but by that time the damage was done. Oklahoma State at that time led 30-27, and they would go on to win 30-29 over Texas A&M, defeating the Aggies in front of a very large home crowd very large home crowd at Kyle Field, and really embarrassing an Aggie program that was looking forward to showing up and kind of putting a win in the face of the Big 12 Conference in front of the SEC and maybe even the Texas Longhorns and a couple other schools around the state, to kind of show them up, to say, you know what, we can go to the SEC and we're going to show you through this Oklahoma State game. And Texas A&M's mindset was that we're going to win it and we're going to show everybody that we can do it and we can hang with the big boys in the SEC. Not so much. Texas A&M looked very lethargic in that second half. The offense committed 4 turnovers in the second half, 3 interceptions from Ryan Tannehill, and a fumble early in the third quarter. That really is what led to A&M only having the football for a minuscule amount of time in the second half. In fact, in the third quarter, Texas A&M only had the football 4 minutes, about 4 minutes in that third quarter. Texas A&M really, really disappointed a lot of people, and in fact, I'm disappointed. I was really disappointed in the way they played. I was very, very uninspired by their play. They needed to show me that in my opinion, they needed to show me that they could go out and play against a very high caliber Big 12 team for me to say, you know what, I think they can really, really do well in the SEC. That didn't happen, and Texas A&M now will be answering a lot of questions going into this weekend's game against Arkansas in Dallas Cowboy Stadium, or Jerry Jones World. A neutral site game where they'll be playing against Arkansas, one of their upcoming conference foes in the Southeastern Conference. A&M has to show up better at this game. If they fail to play well against Arkansas, especially in the second half, I think, one, Mike Sherman's job at Texas A&M and College Station will be coming to a very abrupt end. And secondly, I think a lot of people are going to be asking a lot of questions of this Aggie squad going into 2012. Okay, so before we close out this podcast, I'd just like to mention that over the next couple of weeks for college football, I'd like to start what I'd like to call the txsportscast Top 5, the top 5 teams in the state of Texas that are putting forth really good efforts so far this year, and hopefully I'll try to continue to chronicle this, and I would dare say more changes will come as the season progresses. As always, upsets always occur in college football. It's a very, very changing world. So without further ado, hopefully we can continue this. It's the TX Sportscast Top 5.